Hello, good evening, all of you. So, in this lecture, I just want to give a brief introduction about what is meant by deficit monetization. So, simply speaking, RBI printing more money to bridge the government deficit and to support the government is called deficit monetization. That is technical term. So, in this brief lecture, in this small lecture, I would like to give introduction about this deficit monetization so that even a non-commerce student, anybody, a common man can understand what is deficit monetization. So what is the RBI printing more money and what is its effects? Okay, right. Now, first basic question is what is meant by deficit monetization? It refers to government borrowing money from RBI by issuing securities. It involves the RBI to print more money and give it to government. It increases both the assets and liabilities of the RBI. Very straightforward, simple. There is no complexity here. Normally, any company, say for any company, any company, say is a say Reliance Industries Limited. You take any company, you take any company, any company, any company. Example, Reliance Industries Limited. So example, you can take Reliance Industries Limited. Okay, so Reliance Industries Limited and investors are there. Reliance Industries Limited and investors are there. Okay, so Reliance will issue securities or bonds. Reliance will issue bonds to the investors. Reliance will issue bonds to the investors. And investors will pay money to the Reliance. And investors will pay money to the Reliance. In turn, investors will pay money to the Reliance. This everybody knows. This everybody knows. Any company issuing bonds to the public and collecting money, bonds or shares. This is a normal transaction. This is a normal transaction. So here, exactly that is what is happening. Even in case of deficit monetization, also the same thing happens. Instead of any company, government will borrow. Government of India, and instead of investors, it is Reserve Bank of India. It is Reserve Bank of India. Okay, so Government of India issues bonds or securities, issues treasury bills or bonds, etc. to the government, to the Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India will give money to the government. Reserve Bank of India will give money to the government. Okay, so it is a borrowings, it is a liability of the government. It increases liability of the government. So but the deficit monetization increases government liabilities, increases government liabilities, increases government liabilities. Okay, but RBI position does not change. RBI balance sheet is same. Both assets and liabilities will increase. With this, RBI's balance sheet will remain same. RBI's balance sheet is not going to be affected. So if you take out the RBI balance sheet, both assets and liabilities will be increased simultaneously. In the RBI's balance sheet, both assets and liabilities will be increased simultaneously. If I put RBI balance sheet, if I put RBI balance sheet, okay, RBI balance sheet, both assets and liabilities will increase simultaneously. Liabilities, assets. It is liabilities and it is assets. It is assets. So what is the liability? Any money printed by the RBI is a liability. Any money printed by the RBI is a liability of the RBI. Liability of the RBI to the public. I promise to pay bearer. Look at any note, any 100 rupees note or 20 rupees note, you'll identify. I promise to pay bearer. So any money printed is a liability of the RBI. So money printed is a liability of RBI. Okay, money printed is a liability of RBI. And government bonds purchased from government is an asset of RBI. Bonds purchased from government. Bonds purchased from government. Bonds purchased from Government of India. It is an asset of the RBI. So therefore, RBI's balance sheet will remain same. Both assets will increase and liabilities will increase. So this is a brief transaction about what is deficit monetization, how the government borrows money from the RBI, how the RBI is giving loans to the government by printing more money. This is what technically how it happens, right? So this is the meaning of deficit monetization. Now we'll see how this deficit monetization is going to improve the Indian economy, how it benefits the economy. That we'll see now. Okay, how deficit monetization may lead to economic recovery. So the funds borrowed by government from RBI can be spent by government on various activities. Example, construction of hospitals, okay, construction of roads, purchase of more ambulances. This is what I can say. Okay, construction of hospitals, construction of roads, purchasing of more ambulances. Okay, all these activities. These are examples. These are examples. Directly transferring money to the poor people or giving subsidy on various necessities. Okay, in this way, government spend that money. Okay, government can spend the money on various ways. So this increases incomes of the people. If the hospital is constructed, more labor has to be used. For them, we have to pay the wages. If the hospital is constructed, we have to use the cement, steel, paints, etc. So all these in all these factories there will be labor employed. They will also get some income. They will get the wages. Similarly for roads, automobiles. So if the government is purchasing more ambulances, means more demand for the automobile companies. So the workers in the automobile company will get salaries. The workers in the cement company will get salaries. The workers in the paints companies, steel companies, in this way, they will get more income. The workers will get more income. Such spending increases income of the people. Such spending increases income of the people. So engineers has to be used for construction of hospitals, roads, etc. Engineers has to be used. We have to pay salary to the engineers, so they will also get some income. So this increased income, what they will do? What they will do? If workers are getting wages in rural areas, obviously they may purchase small smartphone mobile, or they may purchase some gold, or they may purchase some two-wheeler, or they may purchase some small television at the home. So for these various activities they will spend. So therefore, increased income results in demand for various products. Maybe mobile phones, smartphones in the around in the range of 10 to 15,000. I'm not talking about the bottom layer. I'm talking about the bottom layer. People may start spending for mobile phones in the range of 10,000 to 15,000, or people may start purchasing televisions, or people may start purchasing two-wheelers. So this for these products demand will increase. For these products demand will increase. Okay. Next, increased demand results in more production. Obviously, the two-wheeler companies, mobile companies has to produce more, or watches, gadgets, etc. Nowadays, people are spending for all these things. So the demand for those products will increase. This production again results in more employment. Again, the workers in the mobile factories or two-wheeler factories, etc. So workers in the various industries, cement factories, there will be more employment. So this increased production results in more employment. Again, increased employment results in increased income. This is what. So this is a cycle. This is a cycle. We have started with increased income. Now we are ending with increased income. This cycle goes on. This cycle goes on. This cycle goes on. Now the government is giving income to the people. Again, the people will earn the income on their own. This cycle will go on. This is how the economy will activate. Economy will activate. By looking at this economic recovery, private people, private corporates who are having cash in their hand, but now who are worried about whether to spend or not. By looking at this economic momentum, they will start spending. They will start spending. Okay, it's like, so if one person, government steps ahead, then obviously it will increases the confidence of the private sector. Okay, so this cycle goes on. This cycle goes on. It appears to be very good. It appears to be very good. So activating the dormant economy. The economy is dormant. Now we are activating it. It appears to be very nice. It appears to be very nice, but it has many pitfalls. It has many drawbacks. We'll discuss now what are the drawbacks. Okay, so here it appears to be very nice for you. Deficit monetization resulting in the economic recovery. Then what is wrong with you? What is the drawbacks? What may go wrong? What may go wrong with deficit monetization? Inefficiency and corruption. Say for example, government borrowed 1,000 crores from the RBI. Out of that, government has constructed some hospitals, etc. 200 crores has been spent. Out of the 200 crores is given to the contractors who constructed hospital buildings and roads, etc. We have given some 200 crores. But the contractors have spent only 50 crores for the cement, temple, wages, etc. They have spent only 50 crores. Remaining 150 crores is the black money. Contractors 50 crores worth is given to the contractors for 200 crores. That is what is corruption. 50 crores worth is given to the contractors for 200 crores. Okay, so out of that 150 crores, so 200 crores government spent. Out of that 50 crores will go to the economy. 50 crores may go to the economy. So 100 crores may go to the contractor black money. 100 crores may go to the contractor black money, and 50 crores may go to the government corrupt officials, bribe in the form of bribes. So this 150 crores will not enter into the economy. That is what is this problem. Even the government released 200 crores, but 150 crores may not enter into the economy. That will stay idle. That will stay idle. That will not rotate. That will not rotate. That is the drawback. That is the drawback. If the entire 200 crores rotates in the economy, it's well and good. But 150 crores will be blocked. Maybe if the corruption is there, if at all. I'm not saying that everything is corrupted. Okay, if at all there is a corruption, inefficiency and corruption. So I'm very particular about my terminology. Okay, inefficiency, if any, if at all there is any corruption or inefficient, it may not result in economic improvement. Why? Money is blocked. Money is not circulating. Money is not circulating. That's why there is a quote for the currency. Currency is currency so long as it is in currency. There is a saying in our economics, we used to say, currency is currency so long as it is in currency. Currency means flow. We can call money as a currency so long as it is in currency. It is flow. Okay, currency is a currency so long as it is in currency. Right. Next, inflation may increase if the government and the RBI does not stop spending. This is one of the major drawback. Look at this. So here, in the first stage, when the demand is increased, there is only increase in production without increase in the prices. There is only increase in the production without increase in the prices, because our factories are idle capacity is there. Therefore, increased demand is resulting only in increased production, not increase in prices. Prices are not increased because capacity is still idle. But once this first cycle is completed, and then the second cycle, when the production capacities are filled, when the demand surpasses the supply, when the demand overtakes the supply in the second cycle or the third cycle, when the demand overtakes the supply, the prices will increase. When the demand overtakes the supply, the prices will increase. That increase in prices results in inflation. That is the major drawback. Increase in prices results in inflation. That is the problem. Okay. So during the first stage of cycle, only production will increase due to increase in demand. But during the second stage or third stage of cycle, what happens is increase in demand will also result into increase in prices. That is the problem. So therefore, inflation may increase. That is the drawback. Next, if the government is not spending productively, or if the people's productivity or skills is not increased, if the people's income is not increased, because of government spending, if the people's income is not increased, because of government spending, if the people's income is not increased, then government may not get the taxes. If the government is unable to get the taxes, then obviously government will be unable to repay the loan. Very simple. Government spending should result in income of the people. If the government spending does not result into income of the people, so then obviously government may not get the taxes. If the government does not get the taxes, government will not be able to repay the borrowed money. So these are some of the drawbacks of deficit monetization. We should be very careful. Now the question is, sir, if that is the case, then whether we should avoid it completely or we should ignore it, deficit monetization, or can we go ahead with this deficit monetization, but with some precautions? But with some precautions. Can we go ahead with deficit monetization with some precautions? Yes. What is that precaution to be taken? If you want to use this deficit monetization because of these advantages, then we have to take these precautions. What is required to avoid or reduce the adverse effects of deficit monetization? First and foremost thing, we human beings have achieved so many things. Therefore, no problem is difficult to us. No problem is too difficult so that human beings will not solve. No. We human beings advanced to so much extent, and we have so much intellect. Any problem can be solved. The only problem in the economy is trust deficit. That is the major problem. Not the climate. Nothing. What is the major problem for the dragging the Indian economy is the trust deficit. What is the trust deficit? So normal households and also the business promoters, business entrepreneurs, and foreign investors should trust the government. Government should increase the confidence on them. Once anybody get the government confidence about the government, then anything can do. The same deficit monetization, if it does by the US Federal Reserve and the US government, it will work out. It may not be having negative effects. But if the India does it, it may have a negative effects. Only because lack of confidence on the government of India. For various, even for a normal household, or even for a corporate, or even for a foreign investor, lack of trust or confidence on the government. So if the government can increase the confidence of the public, and the government can maintain its policies consistently, commitment and consistency. Government should be committed to improve the economy. Government should be able to put the economy over and above the political interests, and government should follow its actions consistently. So if that is done, every problem is solved. Nothing more than that. The problem is in our hands only. Whatever the problems we are facing, it is not beyond the reach of a human being. We are so much intellect. We can definitely handle any kind of problem. The only problem is we need some confidence. We need some trust. What is missing in the government? So therefore, government should instill confidence in the market that government is committed to cautious borrowing. Government will not borrow more amount. Government will borrow calculated amount, not recklessly or ad hoc amount. Government will borrow the amount consciously, spend consciously, no corruption, no inefficiency, no bribes. And when the economy enters into the third stage or fourth stage of cycle recovery, when the inflation is about to increase, then the government has to reverse its spending. RBI and government has to take the appropriate action. When the inflation levels increases beyond the tolerable level, government should take the appropriate actions. And government should give a confidence to the market that government is not going to interfere in the RBI's independence. This is what the market is expecting. So market is expecting consistent and committed actions from the government. So if the government is able to bring that confidence in the market, then anything can be done. Not at all, whatever the problems we are facing, definitely we can solve it, provided the government increases the confidence of the people. Yes, we are committed and we are consistent. Only 2 points, committed and consistent. We are committed to improve the economy. We are ready to put the economy over and above our political interests, and we are ready to follow the consistent actions. Any action, every action will have its pros and cons, but government's action should be consistent, should be predictable. Then only the business people will take the risk, will put the money into the market. Okay, that is what this point was. So summary of this lecture, my views is this point: borrow reasonably. This is my advice to the government, or my views to the government. Okay, borrow reasonably, spend productively. So don't borrow much amount, borrow reasonable amount, spend productively, don't waste the money, spend productively, earn sufficiently. That means if the government spends productively, people's income will increase. If the people's income increases, government's taxes will increase, and government will be able to repay the money timely. Okay, that is what this point. So simply speaking, spend today, tax tomorrow. That's it. Spend today, tax tomorrow. That's all about. Okay, thank you one and all.